I'd like to invite Karen Heyer up to the front for her presentation for Fisheries Resource Monitoring Program and Partners Program.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Karen Heyer, and I work for the Office of Subsistence Management, which is housed in U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I'm going to talk to you today about two programs that we have. And the first one is the Fisheries Resource Monitoring Program. And the mission of the Fisheries Resource Monitoring Program is to identify and provide information needed to sustain subsistence fisheries on federal public lands for rural Alaskans. And so federal public lands in this area would be the lands that are associated with the Maritime Refuge. And it's an interagency program, and it's administered through OSM, but we partner with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Bureau of Land Management, the National Park Service, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, of course, and then the U.S. Forest Service. And we fund research and monitoring projects for up to 4 years. And we have a call that is coming out this fall for projects. And we divide our program up into regions, and you can see the regions here, and they're based on subsistence users and on the resources. So we partition the money to the regions, and currently Southwest will receive approximately 15% of the funding, and our estimate right now, this changes always a little bit, but we think we're going to have about $2 million worth of money for funding. And if you were here and participated in the Regional Advisory Council on Monday night, you saw them talk about the priority information needs. And we go to our councils and ask them what the subsistence priorities are and where the research needs to happen. And then we work closely with our regional advisory councils through the process, and they provide us with feedback and information from the communities. And then they also take the information back to their communities. When the proposals are submitted, they're evaluated on 5 criteria. There has to be a relationship to a federal subsistence fishery. And then we evaluate the proposals on how credible they are and the data that they'll produce for fisheries management. We also evaluate the researchers on their expertise and their capacity. And then a unique part of our program is we ask for local partnerships, and we evaluate the proposals on how they partner with the local communities and people. And then, of course, we evaluate it on how cost-effective these proposals are. And these are the activities that we don't fund. We don't fund anything that has to do with habitat restoration or enhancement, hatchery propagation, contaminants, or a project that is primarily for outreach and education. While many of our research and monitoring program proposals contain an outreach and educational component, we don't fund those solely as educational and outreach components. They're always a subset of the proposal. Okay, there we go. Our second program, which we just finished a call for proposals for, is our Partners for Fisheries Monitoring Program. And the mission of that program is to build capacity and increase involvement in the research and management related to subsistence harvest of fish and wildlife on federal public lands for residents of rural Alaskans. And through that program, we fund professionals, and we place those professionals within Native and rural Alaska organizations. And we fund biologist positions, social science positions, educator positions, and natural resource positions. And so we work with these groups, and we provide them with the money so they actually hire these individuals within their organizations. And some of the goals of it are to integrate Alaska Natives and rural organizations into the management of subsistence fisheries. So we want them to be more active in our program, interacting with our regulatory process, our research process, and our regional advisory councils. And through this program, we're involving more locals, and that's one of the goals, is to ensure that we have the locals involved in our program. And it builds capacity within these organizations through professional staff, because a lot of the organizations we work with are small and they couldn't afford to hire the professional staff given their budgets. So this allows them the opportunity to hire the professional staff, and then it gives the organization the capacity to compete in many of our programs. And it also promotes cooperation between the Native organizations and the state of Alaska and the federal agencies and academia. And through the program that I was just talking about before, it's allowed the organizations to actually compete successfully for that money. And some of our successes are currently, we have Alaska Native organizations collaborating annually on 24 of our fisheries resource monitoring programs throughout the state of Alaska. We also have them providing community outreach and education programs through their organizations. They're mentoring college interns, which are local residents, and we work really closely with the ANSEP program too, to track those kids through the whole school year. And they also hire rural technicians, because not everybody wants to grow up to be a biologist or an engineer, but there are many people that just want to come alongside us and help us with our projects and work seasonally on our projects.